Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm doing another video. Now today I'm going to be interviewing somebody very special, someone who means a lot to me and my channel. So today Amy Wright will be joining me and we're going to be having a bit of a chat about the Next Step Season 8, her time working on the show and what it was really like being part of such an amazing season. Now before I get into it, I just wanted to mention that Amy was the very first person that I interviewed back in 2020, nearly 3 years ago. So having Amy back is an honour and it's going to be lovely to catch up with her. So it is a great pleasure to welcome Amy back to my channel.
Hello, I am Amy Wright. I am doing this interview with Charlie today, I think because I work mostly on The Next Step. Well, I know because I work mostly on The Next Step. But I am a choreographer and a casting director in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. And then I'm also a producer. That's way too much information, isn't it?
No, that was great. Well, Amy, thank you so much for joining me. It's going to be great talking to you about your time on The Next Step, what the latest season has been like, and kind of any stories you have as well. So to kick the interview off, how did you feel when you found out that The Next Step Season 8 was going to be happening?
It was a really big deal, especially we had waited so long and, you know, it's constant when fans are like, is it happening? Is it happening? And we don't really know. And then all of a sudden we're told green light. And then I'm immediately casting like 3 days later. And then we're shooting a month later. And it turns out to be a whirlwind. So it's very, very exciting. And we always are remaining hopeful for a season 9.
Yeah, I mean, as fans, we love the idea of future seasons, and season 8 was a big moment for us all too, because, you know, we saw the end of season 7, we had that major cliffhanger, and finding out that season 8 was going to kind of tell us the next part of the story was amazing. So part of season 8, we said goodbye to many amazing characters, many that people grew up with. So what was it like having to say goodbye to so many amazing people in season 8?
Well, a lot of those performers started in season 4. So Alexander Chaves and Shelby Bain, I think they were season 4. Ozzy came in season 5, I think, and Noah's Zulfikar Kingston, I think, was season 5. So they had been with us for years. I mean, when I met Alexander and Shelby, they had just turned 14. And 7 years later, we were saying goodbye to them. So even though we didn't shoot every year, we certainly had such a strong relationship. And I hate saying goodbye to anybody, but I feel like on The Next Step, it's never really goodbye. I mean, every year we said goodbye to Victoria Baldessara, and every year they found a little way to bring her back. So it's one of those things that I start to prepare myself for when I'm hiring them now, and that someday we will have to say goodbye. But I actually see them all the time in real life. Today is Alexander Chaves' birthday, and I'm seeing her tomorrow, actually. So I stay in touch with them even though they're not immediately on the show, and it's nice. It's nice to feel like they are sort of my extended family, my dance babies.
Oh, it's lovely to hear you all kind of meet up outside of the show. And like you said, it's always an option to bring people back. One of my favourite parts of season 8 was seeing Victoria come back and play Michelle, because she is obviously one of the most iconic characters of the show. So season 8 delivered a lot of strong storylines. We had a lot of dance drama, relationship drama. We had nationals, we had the show, we had so much happening. So Amy, if you could pick one storyline out of everything in The Next Step Season 8, what would it be? What one would be your favourite?
In season 8, I have to admit the musical was a really big storyline, very exciting for me. And partly because I grew up in musical theater and I had always wanted to perform on stage. I was lucky enough to get to perform on stage. I studied musicals my whole life. So the fact that The Next Step was doing a musical was very cool. And I mean, there's probably a smaller storyline. I really loved the Rishazi happening. Whether or not people are fans of Rishazi or they wanted Noshelle. It was very sweet because those two are absolutely best friends in real life. And anytime Julian talks, Briar just giggles. So working with the two of them and creating a dramatic love story for them was very, very fun.
Rashossi, amazing. I was so happy that they happened. And Step Inside as well. Like you said, you've kind of had that musical theatre background. I love musical theatre too. So seeing that was wonderful. And it was great to see the characters sing as well. It kind of showed a different side to them. And carrying on with the theme of Step Inside, what was it like putting that together? Was it different from what it was normally like creating dances for regionals and nationals?
Creating Step Inside was a little bit different than the nationals, regionals, because the concept was different. The overall concept was a little bit more like the live tour, where we're introducing characters, introducing the people, why they dance, and the heart of all of that, but giving an overview of Rochelle's skills, Amy's skills, Finn's skills. So sort of like when you go to the live tour, you're meeting Briar and Liam and Alexander and Shelby. This was the sort of the same idea to me. And it was cool. A few more of them would have wanted to sing, I think. Like what I felt was missing was a little bit of Finn, because he sang at the end of Dance Mania for Piper. I would have loved to see that, even though he's not a singer like Broadway quality, like somebody like Danny is certainly Cleo. She's performing right now in the musical Rent, so she is a Broadway singer. So that was cool. It was the same but different. Another challenge is that the set was very small. The actual dance floor, I can't remember how far forward, maybe 20 feet by 40. So you'll notice when they dance in Studio A, because it's huge, they have a lot of space to travel. But that particular dance floor was made tiny, as if we were shooting it for a phone. So sometimes you can see that even Noah does like a backflip sort of on the spot. They don't travel as much. And that was a hard adjustment, because we had very little time, of course, like the next step. Quick rehearsal, shoot it. But the dancers pull off magic, as they always do.
Yeah, it sounds like there were a few challenges along the way with creating it, but overall it was incredible. And it was nice to see the dancers in kind of like a new location, a new setting, and it was kind of came full circle in a way, seeing them do something which in some ways was like a professional show. Well, it was very, very professional. So one exciting moment in the Next Step Season 8 was at Nationals, when it was the Pro Division, and we saw you make an appearance, Amy. So I wanted to have a moment to talk about what it was like actually being in front of the camera this time, and kind of how the opportunity came around.
Well, I used to be an actor, but I feel like my only acting skills were things where I could just smile. I wasn't any good at memorizing pages of dialogue or ever being serious. So it was very nice to be able to play myself, because I'm not sure that I had to act. I just had to do what I would do, which was so good. I might have been too nervous if I'd been given drama. Luckily, the only drama I had to do was to introduce Shad and watch Rochelle freak out. So it was exciting. I actually was in the pilot that no one's ever seen. And there's a million reasons I could get into it with you why we can't show that. But I actually, the original Next Step was Miss Amy's School of Dance. And that was just to help set up the idea. And then Brie Wasilenko was hired to be Miss Kate. And I have a cat who's sneezing. Not sure if you can hear her. So being in it was very cool. I actually was a last minute COVID replacement. The main judge, although he didn't have any symptoms, it was a gentleman. He arrived on set and he tested positive for COVID. So he was immediately sent home, and everybody's like, what do we do? And the producer, Jim Corsten, looked and he said, you're going on camera. And I was like, ah! Although I will say Mitch was directing, Mitch Ness, and Darby was the AD, and they kept telling me I talk too much, which is also what I'm doing right now. But Mitch would say, don't say so much, keep it simple. And I was like, blah, blah, blah. But that's my nerves. I tend to ramble when I get nervous. So I really was just doing me. and it was exciting. I think it was a surprise for some people. I think even you, Charlie, looked and was like, "Oh my God, it's Amy Wright!" So, and even Alicia mocking Ariana, she didn't know I was going to be there either. So I like watching people's reactions to people that I know. Now I know you, and anyway, still rambling. That's the nerves.
No, love a bit of rambling. It's good to kind of hear what it was like for you, how that opportunity kind of came around. And like you said, I think I messaged you when I saw you on it, and I was like, oh my gosh, you were on it. And it was an amazing moment. It was kind of great to see you on there. And hopefully, you never know, we might see Amy return in season 9.
It would be fun. Casting directors aren't actually supposed to cast themselves because I would be taking away work from another actor. I would love to appear again, but it's my goal always to hire and promote talent. So I was very lucky. I think actually I was in another season. Somebody caught me just running through the backstage at maybe the first nationals or something. I was caught in the shot, and that's the kind of thing you might see me again, is hiding out watching the kids from the wings.
Yeah, that's great. I love kind of little Easter eggs people find in them. It's always really interesting to see. So in season 8, we had a lot of iconic dances. One of my personal favourites was the final dance we saw the old A Troupe do. I think it was like Our Future Selves or something. But for you, Amy, what was your favourite dance that you got to choreograph in season 8?
I did really enjoy the clock dance. That was a unique story because I was brainstorming it with my son one night on a 2-hour car ride. We were just trying to come up with concepts. And so he and I had this whole amazing idea. It's actually slightly reminiscent of James and Riley in the painting dance, where Riley was in the painting. She sees a businessman, comes out, and then she takes him into the world of the painting. And this was a little bit of an homage to that Emmerly as Kenzie is in the real world sort of, and the clock people come to life. And instead of taking her into the clock, Pete's character changes and gives up his life in the magical clock to leave with Emmerly and join the real world. So it was the real world. It was a little bit an homage to that, but we played around with time and the concept of time, especially during COVID when you had no idea what day or time or anything it was. And I do imagine, actually, it was the clock act was inspired by Big Ben in England. And I thought, imagine if there were these people that come out every night at midnight and actually stop the clock, and they have their own mischief and their own wild party, and then they start time again and nobody knows. So that was sort of the fun of it.
Yeah, I love that idea, and it's great to hear the backstory of the dance. And I can remember watching it for the first time. I think I actually kind of thought of the James and Riley duet whilst watching it, so you executed that very well. And I just thought it had such a good storyline in it. Even when I watch it now, and I've watched it like 10 times, you still kind of get that chill watching it because it is so good. So talking of being at nationals and having that dance at nationals, what was it like being back there? Because we went back to the same theatre as season 2, so what was it like being back in an iconic venue like that?
It's beautiful being in the space. It's called the Living Arts Centre. It's in Mississauga, Ontario. It's about 20 minutes west of Toronto. And the fun is that in the wings they hang clothing racks and costume racks, and that's where they put like the little makeup area for the dancers. And on the clothing rack is not all, but so many of the former costumes. A lot of the Rewind costumes are always there. So there's Eldon. I actually grabbed Isaac and put him in his jacket, which of course, I think he was 16 and now he's 26. So he he got it on. But he's a grown man and he was a boy. And there's Giselle's, you know what was there? The girls' tutus from the puppet theater from Empire in Internationals. And I love pulling that stuff out and going through the rack and thinking, this is like history. I feel like we should be in the Smithsonian Institute or some special place where all these costumes are on display because I love them that much. But they're just in the wings. And it didn't happen this time. But when we went back to the theater where regionals was done, somebody found a box backstage and reached in, and they found scripts and sides from the first time we'd been there. So these little things pop up again. The Nationals, it was cool to be there. It's like remembering even Michelle with her showstopper and these incredible moments. So it's really cool. Hopefully, if we, get a season 9 or 10 and we get to go to internationals again. But you never know. Like, I'm almost like, what else would we do? What bigger competition? Like, I'm like, by the time I get to season 20, we'll be in like outer space dance universe and we'll have aliens competing against us or something. I don't know. But who knows where things will go.
Yeah, it's exciting thinking about future seasons and where everything can go. And like you said about being back at the regionals theatre, the nationals theatre, looking back over all the incredible seasons must always be a nice feeling. It's great watching old seasons back as a fan because you remember all the exciting moments, you remember the feelings you felt when you were watching it for the first time. And season 5 is the first season I watched live, and even like back when I watch it now, watching season 5 episode 1, I can remember not knowing Emily and Michelle at that point, but at the end when they had the little showdown, I was thinking something is going to happen. So it's always nice to look back at old seasons.
To tell you also, the other dance that I absolutely loved doing, and the ones I always love, are the ones that are driven through the characters of the next step and not for concept, for competition. So it was wonderful to do Piper and Finn's goodbye dance, and then also things like even Rochelle dancing and flirting with Shad, and what that is, and Rochelle and Ozzy. There are these little moments where, and even Cleo and Jude, when they were they started on the bench, and I think it was Cleo was upset, or no, Jude was upset, and Cleo was like, hey, don't be upset, and they danced together. I just love, because then your movement is 100% character driven, and even like, Charlie, if it was you, how you're feeling and how you move affects how you're communicating. So those are really fun because we truly create with the furthering of the plot in mind. Rather than just a cool concept piece. So those were really fun.
Yeah, and those dances are very like emotionally great because you connect with the characters during those times. And like you said, with Piper and Finn's goodbye duet, they had tears down their faces. I'm sure that was the actor as well as the character, but you just really kind of connected to those, and it was just kind of nice to see so many great dances in that season. I mean, I think season 8 had some of my favorite dances ever from the show.
What were your top 3?
My top 3, so number 1 has definitely got to be Future Selves. I just think because that was kind of the age group I grew up with, so saying goodbye to them was very, very sad, but obviously it's part of the show. And probably second would be the final dance at Nationals with that age group, because we'd seen kind of how much work had gone into them getting there, and seeing them work together, go through their final challenges. That was great. And then obviously the clock dance has to be in the top 3 as well.
We call the final ones the parking lot prom, and I'm not sure. I feel like in the edit a few things got cut out just because they were focused. When the dancers come in, the story of that one was that everybody's at a prom, and with so many rules and stereotypes and boundaries and restrictions, the cast maybe didn't know each other in the plot, in the dance, but they went outside to get a break from the prom. So if you really watch close, you'll see like when they come out, if they had a boutonniere, they threw it away. What didn't get shown, I don't think, was when Emerly, she comes out with the prom queen badge or banner and she rips it off. And they all had something. We were originally going to try and like rip off costume pieces and throw away high-heeled shoes and anything that looked like you were at the prom, and you're like, I don't want to be this, I don't want to be that, I just want to be me. And but we had to simplify because we couldn't have dancers throwing their high-heeled shoes into the audience or their little whatever. And then we also realized then they'd be barefoot, and we didn't want to be barefoot. It was a whole thing. But the whole idea of that was taking off these stereotypical things that force you into a mold, and then the people that meet in the parking lot end up having a way better party than they did if they stayed inside, which that I think came across. I just not sure if there were too many of them. I should have choreographed it better, but there were too many of them in those first 10 seconds that had to take things off, and the camera people couldn't have caught it all. Or if they'd edited it, it would have looked like super frenetic trying to see what everybody was throwing off their bodies. But now that I've said it, you can watch, and in the front of the stage is actually a pile of something, and it's Emerly's banner. So it's just there. Yeah, it's just like, what is that in the front of the stage? It's the prom queen banner.
Yeah, it's really interesting to kind of hear the backstory of it, and it's cool to hear what happened as well, because obviously the dance we saw, like you said, the concept came across very well. You know, they went out and had their party, and actually talking about like kind of things that were seen there at Nationals, I kind of noticed a little kind of like blooper, if I'm allowed to share it.
Oh, of course. I know what it's going to be. I'm pretty sure.
Right, guess what it is?
It's in the hip hop.
Yeah.
You can say. You can spoil it.
It's the Emily's jacket.
I'm like, if people couldn't see that as a blooper, then they weren't really looking. But to be honest, I watched the dance and I didn't notice it. It was actually Briar and Olay that pointed it out to me. Briar and Emerly watched it. So what happens sometimes is we shoot the dances over 2 days. So one day we do all the cameras way at the back for the wide shots, and then the next day we go close up. So Emerly is pretty sure she was saying, I know it was zipped up, and somebody else said, no, it was open. And we have very little time on stage to shoot all the dancing, and it's quite exciting. So somehow that just it went over everybody's heads, and hopefully people forgive, but it also makes for a good trivia. The same, Wizard of Oz, my favorite movie of all time, Dorothy's hair goes from this long to that long to this long to that long. So things happen, means I still love the Wizard of Oz. Hopefully we catch those things, but sometimes you could be staring at something and you don't see it. And that's, I believe, what happened.
Yeah, no, like it was really cool to kind of see it, and it's kind of made me in some ways kind of enjoy the dance more, because I'm always kind of looking out for it and it's great fun. But to be fair, like I didn't notice it at first. It was like 4 or 5 times in that I saw it. Yeah. So it's not that noticeable at all. And it's kind of, like you said, a great thing to kind of happen in some ways, because it will make the dance kind of iconic.
100%. That'll be, I'm trying to think back at any other bloopers and things like that we knew happened. It doesn't come off the top. That was extreme. But there's got to be something that happened before.
Yeah, I'm sure people will find some exciting thing in the background or something. It's always really cool to hear them. And earlier on, we were talking about what it was like saying goodbye to so many of the old cast. But because we said goodbye to so many old cast, we welcomed a whole load of new cast in. So what was it like getting to work with so many new dancers this season?
I always love bringing people into the family. It really does feel like that. So even the OGs and the I guess the troupe that was sort of your first, people in our company termed them the legacy crew. So we have the OGs and then the legacy cast, and now the new kids. They don't have a cool name yet except the new kids. It's really great. People like Mila, who plays Jet, and Autumn Ebby, Brandon Ty Lissing, he was with us as a J Trooper, B Trooper. I think he just was on J Troop. So some of those dancers are people that have been auditioning and working towards being in the show since they were 12. I met Mila at a convention, and she was 11 or 12, just so tiny. And Autumn had a big afro and a bright yellow bodysuit and was very present when I met her, and she was 11. So it's so rewarding to see them focus and train and grow and then be the ones that make it onto A Troop. I feel like they They set it as a goal for themselves. And then there are other people that are brand new that I'd never met before. Even Blake. And now I'm like going through the whole age group in my head. Blake, I had known who he was, and he'd taken some workshops, but I don't think he'd auditioned for the next step as frequently maybe as Mila had. Anyway, I'm rambling again. It's really cool bringing in new faces. And it was also really fun to have Emily become the leader. She's very nurturing to the new kids. So if they had a question, they could go to her. And one of the first dances we rehearsed with the new age troupe was the parking lot prom. And I know that Carter Heath really felt like a senior dancer when I had the others enter first, and he got sort of the feature, you're the last person in with the biggest flip, and then when you land, the dance starts. So it's that sort of Eldon, Noah, Heathcliff trajectory of that dancer who has that moment. Even I think Henry had it in the ramp dance, and West had it. So Carter knew. He was like, so it was really nice to see him elevate also. Now you're a senior on the team. You're no longer the rookie. So he really stepped into that role.
Yeah, it's lovely to hear how you put the dance together and, you know, people stepping up, new people coming in. It's kind of part of the process, I suppose, of moving the show along. But it was great to hear how especially that dance was formed. It was such a great dance to end the season with. Now, Amy, I have one more question for you, and this is always my favourite question to ask, and I wanted to just give you the chance to talk about any memories, any moments, any stories you had from the Next Step Season 8. The floor is yours to share what you would like to.
Oh, I think every year the Next Step faces some sort of challenge, and then we overcome it, and just when we think we're rolling along and everything is so smooth, then something else wild happens. And last season it was COVID. We had to make sure we all of us, the cast, the crew, every single person that worked on the show that came in the building had to be COVID tested 3 times a week. We really tried to bubble up and stay at night. I know the cast weren't like going to the movies. They were really trying to stay home and stay healthy. We did have, for the first time ever, dance doubles. We had 3 of the cast during the audition sequences unable to come to work because of just health concerns. Anytime anybody was even moderately sick because of COVID, it's stay home, safety first, take care of yourself. We wanted to keep as many people healthy as possible. So we've never had dance doubles because it's really easy for our fans to recognize the dance style and the signature dance moves of people. So even if somebody looks like me, they don't move like me. So we actually had a dance double for Rochelle. We had a dance double for Ozzy at one point, and we had a dance double for Winnie. And so the A Troop dance, where B Troop joins at the very, very opening of the season, we had to shoot that over several days because you could have the dance double there, but let's say when it was Rochelle's solo, we certainly couldn't put in the dance double. If we had only shown a body dancing with no head or the back of Rochelle, fans would have been like, that's not Rochelle. So that was a really unique challenge. COVID just was crazy for everybody. When we were at nationals, excuse me. So even when we were at nationals, we had people staying home. The elite team had to replace 2 dancers like in the morning of shooting. They redid 3 of their dances. It was absurd and chaotic, but the best and most professional dancers just pull it together. Grace, the solo she does at nationals, that was like that morning they turned and said, can you do a solo? She says, yes, I can. So she just improvised that. She just made it up from all the dances she'd known from going to her dance studio. But they ran and found her a dress, and we said, here's a song, go. And she walked on stage and did it. So those are like freaky but also amazing when everybody rallies. So that was unique about season 8. In season 8, we also had the lowest ceiling we've ever had in Studio A, which is weird. I don't know if anybody really noticed, but for the first time ever, the camera will shoot up and you'll see the ceiling lights. And that's because the building we were in was this amazing building, so spread out. We had a rehearsal hall. It was gorgeous, but the ceiling was low. So they had to dress the ceiling because we've never seen it before. As you know, in season 1, we were in like a public school. And if you looked up, you could see the basketball nets. So for this one, they actually allow us to see the ceiling, and the musical set was literally behind Studio A, so you could walk out of Studio A into the scaffolding. I'm just trying to think of fun stuff. For me, it was wonderful with the assistants as well, Caitlin and Pyro, and we had a bunch of guest choreographers. And the music, it really felt like everything really clicked. Like the music, I think the interesting thing is that when you're doing so much music writing, so much choreographing, and you try to make everything perfect, you're always going to have some that are at the top and some that are at the bottom. And it's like, we try to have all of them amazing. But every now and then I'm like, what was the dance that we just ran out of time? Or what was the dance that... There's one video somebody put on TikTok, and it's just the A Troop, and they just walk. A Troop from season 1. They walk, pivot step. They walk, pivot step. People are like, what kind of dance is that? I go, that's a dance where they said, we need a dance, and we have 2 minutes, and we go, everybody walk from the corner. Like, so those are the adventurous moments where you pull magic out of a hat. But I think season 8 was really under control for all of that. I loved all of the music, and I really loved all the choreography. I loved what everybody brought to it. So yeah, the weird craziness just came from it being COVID, and the world rallied together to get through that. So we did it. I'm sitting in the sun in Ontario, hoping that we never have to go through that again anywhere. And anyway, I think as a community, the whole world grew tight because we were all stuck in that together. So
yeah, thank you for sharing those moments, Amy. And like you said, COVID was a big factor, and the fact that you managed to film a whole season, you even got to go to different locations, etc., was really, really good to see. COVID didn't stop it, which was amazing. And actually, I do have a question for you about the dance doubles, but this is in a different season. In season 4, we saw Michelle dance with herself, and I just wanted to know, did you use a dance double for that? And if so, how did you film it?
So that was a dance double. Because there were obviously 2 of them. Although the season 8 was very different because that person wasn't there. But so basically Victoria and the dancer, why am I just forgetting her name right now? I can picture her in my head. I'll have to text that to you later. She's literally just Sarah. It was Sarah. Victoria and Sarah. And I made sure that the dancer had basically the same measurements as Victoria. That dancer had blonde hair, but not as long as Victoria, so they put a wig on Sarah. And so Victoria and Sarah both learned both sides of the duet. That was edited and directed by Jay Prodigny, who's the original editor that brought the reality side of the next step to the next step. He'd done reality shows like Bake Off. So he's the reason for the Talking Heads being so good. So Jay, as the editor, knew exactly how to do that. So we had the, let's say, happy side and the sad side. So we had the choreography. Now, if you split the screen here, if I don't move whatever for a long time, you'd probably be able to divide me. Like I could be over here and you could divide me, and I'll do this, and I'll be over here, and I'll do this, and you could like put it together. So for most of the dance, it's on opposite sides. And then if we wanted them to switch sides, we knew that they had to turn their... So if they ever go like this, it's the back of the head. Am I making sense? So this is the front of the head. So we couldn't do that because you'd see two faces crossing camera. But if we did this and rotated, they could switch sides. So they both learned the happy and sad side. But almost all of the dance, they don't cross the middle. Even when they touch and they support each other in a lift, you'll notice the one dancer has their head to camera and the other dancer, we see the face. So Victoria did do both sides fully. And then it was edited certain times to use the double, so that you could actually see that two people were touching. And then you'll also notice they shot from inside Miss Kate's through the windows. So there's one time the two girls are both facing the mirror. And I think if we were strong enough to zoom in, you'd see that one is Victoria, one's the double. But because it's shot through windows, through the squares of the glass into the mirror and then back at their faces, it's too much reflection, so you wouldn't know it was them. That was amazing to do. Really fun. And Jay literally is the creative genius behind that. And he is also the editor of the first 4 episodes of the Wednesday show. And he is responsible for the greatness that is Jenna Ortega's dance. And yes, Jenna Ortega had all those moves, but Jay is the person who put them in order. And I said to him, I saw him in December, I said, you have a viral, worldwide, sensational dance before me. I mean, well, that's not true. I have the next step. But something like that, like the dance, it's like the Macarena, the Wednesday dance, the cha-cha slide, whatever. I don't have a dance like that. Don't really know how to get one, but I keep imagining it'll happen someday. But so Jay is the person that chose the order to put the moves in, because Jenna was freestyling most of it. So she would do a couple of the moves and then she would pause a little bit and then she would do another move. So he really put it together. So that's Jay is one of the most talented, amazing people. And he also just did the new Scream movie, which I haven't seen yet. So he went from the next step, from the baking shows to the next step, and now he's, working with Tim Burton and mega movie people and TV people. So I'm really excited for him.
Yeah, thank you for sharing kind of how the season 4 Michelle dance went together. And Jay sounds amazing as well. He sounds like a great person who was part of the Next Step family. And it's great to hear what he's doing and what you're doing and kind of how everything is happening. Amy, it has been amazing chatting to you again. And I just wanted to say a big thank you for sharing everything you've talked about and just really giving up your time to chat to me.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this. I know we did it months ago and I didn't have my camera working properly. Oh, my phone's totally shut off. It might have. Did it stop recording? Let's see. It hasn't been recording at all.
Oh no.
Oh no!
I can always use the Zoom recording from this bit and then we can change it to your phone after.
I've been looking down. I've been looking here.
Oh yeah.
So can we do it? Are you on a deadline? I'm not joking. The only one I have is the 7-second, the one I already sent you. Do you want to pause your recording and just take a look, and you could just be like, Amy's phone cacked out. No one will care. I just feel, oh, Charlie, I was so excited to shoot me on the iPhone. But I'm really glad to be chatting today. And I don't really have any news of a season 9 yet.
We'll have to cross our fingers.
The more that you and the fans write the networks and the broadcasters, like if you're in England, let CBBC know you want more, because they're our biggest advocate for more. So wouldn't it be nice if we had an announcement, soon?
Yes, it would be great. I mean, it would be lovely to have another season. I think they're using the hashtag time for season 9. I think I've seen that around. Yeah,
Miles Dobson comes up with that stuff. He made up the season 8 one. What was that called? Was season 8 when though? Yeah, so now he's come up with time for season 9. So I love that. anyway, we'll put it out in the universe that it will happen.
Yes, fingers crossed it will happen. It would be amazing to see our favourite characters back. Now, I hope everybody who watched this interview enjoyed it, found out some TNS8 behind the scenes stories, and overall just found out some great things. So thank you for watching, and I will see you very soon for another video. Bye, guys.